Weak men don't fear the Sigma female because she's aggressive. They fear her because she sees them clearly. She doesn't fall for their charm. She doesn't respond to their manipulation. And she refuses to give them the validation they survive on. To a weak man, a Sigma female isn't just intimidating. She's a mirror that exposes everything he tries to hide. And today, we're breaking down the real psychology behind why her presence sends shockwaves through their ego. A weak man isn't defined by his body or his bank account. He's defined by the fragility of his ego, his desperate hunger for validation, his inability to stand naked in truth. He's a man who wears masks because the face beneath terrifies him. 7 reasons. 7 psychological triggers that turn her presence into his nightmare. The truth is waiting. Let's descend. She sees through his mask. In the darkness of his carefully constructed world, she is the light he never asked for. Weak men are architects of illusion. Every word calculated, every gesture rehearsed. They need you to believe in the character they're playing, because without your belief, the performance crumbles. But the Sigma female doesn't watch the performance. She watches the performer. Her emotional intelligence cuts through pretense like a blade through silk. She notices the micro-expressions that betray his words, the desperation hidden behind arrogance, the way his voice shifts when he lies to himself. She reads the spaces between his sentences where the truth lives, and here's what makes her truly terrifying. She doesn't reveal what she knows. Not immediately. She simply watches, observes, waits. That knowing silence unravels him from the inside. He can feel her seeing him, really seeing him, and panic seeps through the cracks of his facade. He wonders what she knows, whether his mask is slipping. It already has. To be truly seen is the greatest fear of those who live in shadow. And this is only the beginning. She doesn't need him. There's a particular kind of power in not needing what others desperately offer. Weak men build their entire identities on being necessary. They need to be needed because necessity creates dependency, and dependency creates control. They want to be your solution, your savior, your missing piece not out of love, but out of the desperate need to matter. But she arrives complete. The Sigma female carries her own gravity, her own stability, her own direction that doesn't require his input or approval. She's not searching for someone to fill a void because there is no void. This triggers something primal in him. If she doesn't need him, what prevents her from leaving? What leverage does he have? The answer echoes in the emptiness. Nothing. He's forced to confront a reality he's spent his life avoiding, that he must actually become valuable. Not just appear valuable. That he must be chosen, not needed. Weak men cannot meet this standard, so instead of rising, they resent. They call her cold, independent to a fault, emotionally unavailable. When the truth is far simpler, she's just not desperate, and desperation is the only language he speaks fluently. But the next reason is what scares them the most. Her boundaries are unbreakable. There are walls built from stone, and then there are boundaries built from unshakable self-respect. Weak men require flexibility. They need women who bend, who forgive prematurely, who accept disrespect in small doses until it becomes the norm. But the Sigma female, her boundaries are carved from something immovable. Cross the line once, and she doesn't argue. She doesn't explain. She simply vanishes. Like smoke. Like a dream you can't quite remember when you wake. And that disappearance, that calm, final exit, is psychological devastation to a man who feeds on attention. He's accustomed to wearing women down, to pushing boundaries incrementally, to creating chaos that keeps her focused on him. But with her, the usual strategy dies on arrival. She removes herself with an eerie serenity, as if his presence never mattered in the first place. To a man whose entire sense of worth depends on mattering, on provoking reaction, this is torture. He loses the power to affect her, to hurt her, to stay relevant. Her boundaries don't just protect her, they reveal his inability to respect anything, including himself. Here's where fear turns into obsession. She exposes their emotional immaturity. Every child fears the moment they're told to grow up. Some men never stop running from it. Weak men exist in perpetual emotional adolescence. They want to be seen as powerful while behaving like victims. They seek romantic partners, but secretly want mothers. Someone to manage their emotions, absorb their chaos, fix what they refuse to face. The Sigma female refuses to play surrogate parent to a grown man's wounded child. She confronts reality without flinching and expects the same from those around her. When he tries to deflect or blame, she names it for what it is: immaturity wearing the mask of masculinity. Picture this: a man drowning in his own stagnation, complaining endlessly about his circumstances while doing nothing to change them. His boss is terrible. His ex was crazy. The world is against him. The Sigma female listens for a time. Then she asks the question that shatters his victimhood. So what are you going to do about it? Now he must face what he's been avoiding: his own agency, his own responsibility, his own choice to remain powerless. He erupts, accuses her of not understanding, of being too harsh. But beneath the defensiveness, he knows she understands him perfectly. She just refuses to enable the comfortable lies he tells himself. And truth, when you've been running from it your whole life, feels like cruelty. She doesn't respond to manipulation. Tactics. In the theater of manipulation, she is the audience member who walks out mid-performance. Weak men are puppeteers searching for strings to pull. Guilt, fear, jealousy, insecurity. Silent treatment to punish. Love bombing to confuse. Gaslighting to destabilize. Victim playing to control. Every tactic designed to provoke reaction, to keep her emotionally entangled. But the Sigma female doesn't dance to invisible strings. She doesn't chase when he withdraws, doesn't beg when he goes cold, doesn't scramble to prove her worth when he questions it. She simply continues existing, unbothered, unmoved, unhooked. This non-reaction drives him to the edge of madness. His silent treatment meets actual peace. His guilt trip meets indifference. His jealousy play meets disinterest. Every manipulation tactic crashes against the wall of her self-possession and dies there. She operates from logic and self-respect, not emotional desperation. If he adds no value, he simply ceases to exist in her world. He's forced into an impossible choice: show up authentically or lose her forever. Most weak men choose loss over authenticity, because being real requires a strength they've never cultivated. But this next reason is the one they won't admit. Her standards require growth. She doesn't demand perfection. She demands evolution. And for a man committed to stagnation, evolution is a death sentence. Sigma females don't expect you to arrive fully formed, but they do expect something non-negotiable: genuine effort, consistency, emotional maturity, a willingness to face your shadows rather than project them onto others. And weak men are allergic to discomfort. Growth means confronting your failures, admitting your mistakes, dismantling the defense mechanisms you've spent decades constructing. It means becoming vulnerable, uncertain, raw. When the Sigma female enters his life, she becomes a living mirror of his inadequacy. Her discipline exposes his excuses. Her emotional regulation contrasts his volatility. Her ability to achieve goals reveals his pattern of grand promises and quiet surrender. She doesn't have to say a word. Her existence becomes the standard he cannot meet, so he avoids her. Seeks out women who won't challenge him, who will accept him in his current state. He calls her too demanding, when she simply expects baseline emotional adulthood. But here's the deeper truth. Weak men fear her standards because meeting them would require becoming someone they're terrified they cannot be. It's easier to resent her than to rise, easier to call her unrealistic than to admit he's underperforming in the most important areas of life. Her standards aren't impossible, they're just incompatible with his commitment to never changing. But the final reason is the real dagger to their ego. She is the type of woman he cannot control. And now we arrive at the source. The origin of every fear that came before it. Control. For weak men, control isn't about domination, it's about survival. It's the armor they wear against abandonment, rejection, irrelevance. If they can control how you think, feel, and behave, they never have to face their deepest terror. That without manipulation, you might see who they truly are and choose to leave. But the Sigma female exists beyond his reach. She makes her own decisions, follows her own compass, answers to her own truth. She doesn't need his permission to live, his approval to choose, his validation to know her worth. And this autonomy, this complete, unshakable autonomy, is his nightmare made flesh. He tries everything. Isolation tactics, financial control, criticism disguised as concern, emotional manipulation. Every attempt fails spectacularly. She doesn't isolate easily because her sense of self doesn't depend on his presence. She doesn't accept financial control because she's built her own stability. She doesn't internalize criticism because she knows the difference between truth and projection. Each failed attempt reveals his weakness more clearly. And eventually, reality settles in like winter cold. He cannot bend her, cannot break her, cannot make her small enough to fit inside his comfort zone. This is where fear transforms into something darker. Resentment, jealousy, sometimes rage. Some will try to destroy what they cannot possess, spread rumors, paint her as difficult or damaged. Others will oscillate between obsessive pursuit and cruel rejection, unable to decide whether to conquer her or destroy the reminder of their inadequacy. But the most telling reaction? They'll settle for someone easier to control and spend years comparing her to the Sigma female they couldn't break. They'll carry her ghost in every relationship that follows. Because here's the truth that haunts them. The Sigma female was never the problem. She was just the mirror. And what she reflected back was a man who built his entire identity on control rather than character, on manipulation rather than genuine connection, on taking rather than giving. She didn't fear his ego. She didn't flinch at his games. She didn't shrink to make him feel bigger. And that's exactly why he fears her most. Not because of what she does, but because of what she reveals. That he was never as strong as he pretended to be. 7 reasons. 7 fears. 1 truth. She sees through his mask. She doesn't need him. Her boundaries are unbreakable. She exposes his emotional immaturity. She doesn't respond to manipulation. Her standards require growth he refuses to pursue, and ultimately, she's a woman he cannot control. This isn't a war between women and men. This is the eternal conflict between authenticity and facade, growth and stagnation, self-respect and desperation. For the strong men who found this message, the Sigma female isn't your enemy. She's your equal. She's the partner who challenges you to evolve while respecting who you already are. And for the Sigma females watching from the shadows, never dim your light for someone afraid of brightness. Your standards aren't too high. They're the exact altitude required for your peace. Your boundaries aren't too rigid. They're protecting something sacred. Your independence isn't intimidating to the right person. It's magnetic. The right man won't fear your strength. He'll recognize it as kin to his own. He won't try to control your fire. He'll bring his own. And the weak men, let them fear, let them resent, let them avoid you entirely. Because you're not here to fix broken men or shrink yourself for fragile egos. You're here to live in full color in a world that prefers everyone dimmed. If this resonated in the depths of your being, leave your mark with a like and subscribe. Share your thoughts below. Which reason cut deepest? Until we meet again in the shadows of truth, stay powerful, stay authentic, and never apologize for being exactly who you are. The weak will always fear what they cannot control. And you, Sigma female, are gloriously uncontrollable.